In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use this thermal mod hack to make your MacBook Air M1 20% faster. Now, this hack isn't going to be for everybody, and there are some pros and cons to doing it. So what I'm going to do is explain what the hack is, show you how to do it, and also in the description below, I'll have some of the videos that actually did performance tests showing you in what situations that this mod actually helps. Today's video is also brought to you by Scott Balkum, because if Scott didn't write to me showing me how easy it was to do this hack and all the performance benefits, I probably wouldn't have done it myself, because although I saw the videos on YouTube, I just didn't take them too seriously because I thought it was either going to be a little bit too good to be true or it was going to be a little bit hard to do. And neither of those came to be. It's actually really easy to do and it's not too good to be true. So without further ado, let's hit it. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Geoff Fagien. Today I'm going to explain and show you how the thermal pad mod works on the MacBook Air M1. So if you're interested in the difference between the Air and the Pro, really the main difference is the lack of the touch bar in the Air and also the lack of a fan. Because the Air does not have a fan, if you're doing very processor intensive functions, when the processor gets too hot, it ends up throttling the performance down, which is where the fan helps on the Pro. So by doing this thermal mod, it ends up adding to the heatsink and connects it to the bottom metal tray of your MacBook Air. Now, by doing this, it's going to make the bottom of your MacBook Air get really hot if you're doing heavy processing or anything like that. Now, you may not want to have your MacBook Air on your lap if you're processing something like an 8K or 6K or a 4K video render, because that's where this thermal pad comes into play. As it connects to the bottom of the MacBook Air, it gives it a heat exit point, and that's where all of the heat goes from the CPU. But by giving it that out, it ends up not throttling the performance of the Mac M1 chip on the MacBook Air, which is a huge benefit because for under $30, you get the same performance as the $300 more expensive MacBook Pro. So with that being said, if you're going to use this just as a regular user and you're not going to be rendering video like I spoke about in the original video, you may not have to go through this hack because you may never get to the point where your processor starts throttling you. But if you're going to be on the road or for whatever reason you absolutely have to be rendering with your M1 MacBook Air, then I highly suggest doing this, as it's going to help with your render speeds and overall performance when you're doing processes like that on the M1 MacBook Air. With all that being said, let's head over to the desk where I actually put the thermal pads in the Mac M1, show you about how long it takes, and we'll take it from there. First thing you're going to need to do is turn off the MacBook Air. Then when you turn it over, we're going to have two things. We're going to have two different sets of thermal pads. We're also going to have a set of screws, and I'll have links to both in the description below. We're going to unscrew all the screws from the bottom of the MacBook Air, and some of them are different lengths, so you want to make sure you keep them in the same order that you take them off from the back. So we're going to take off this back, and one of the first things you'll notice is we have the area where we're going to put the thermal pads, and one of them is raised and one of them is a little bit lowered. That's why we have two sets of thermal pads. So the set on the right is the thinner one, which is almost the right size, but we're going to have to cut it a little bit. And on the left, it actually is the right size. We just have to trim the top. So you see me here, I'm not making it look really pretty, but it looks good enough to get this thermal transfer going, and I'm putting it over the heatsink. So I have the one on the left here. I'm going to trim the top so it fits perfectly, and it's pretty much even with the other side because I got the bigger pad. Again, link is in the description below. And I'm just making it a little bit more pretty here, putting the back on, screwing it up, and then we're pretty much good to go. The last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go check the back where the thermal mod was done, make sure it's raised a little bit and it's not as loose there anymore, as that makes sure there is a solid connection on the back to the metal of the laptop. So I hope this video helped you decide whether you want to undertake this thermal mod for the MacBook Air M1. It is relatively easy to do. Just remember there are some pros and cons to doing this, which are that you may void your warranty, which is probably the biggest. So if you're worried about that, don't do it. And then the second is the fact that the bottom of the MacBook Air is going to get hot, so you want to make sure not to have it on your lap. Other than that, those are really the two cons that I saw doing this mod, and the ability to not have this thing throttle on me on the road if I need to put out a longer form video, whatnot. I just need to use the performance of the MacBook Air. I looked at the pros and the cons and decided that I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. And if you got knowledge out of today's video, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell to see more videos like this. Until next time, thank you for watching. My name's Geoff Fagien. I'll see you in the next video.